Hello everyone, I'm Roma Monkey. In today's video, we'll be looking at... Can I ignore this? Back. Hello everyone, I'm Roma Monkey. In today's video, we will be looking over the art book for Enigmatis 3, The Shadow of Karkhala. This is available DLC for the third Enigmatis game by Artifex Mundi. So the art book just shows off mainly some concept art for the game itself, and the soundtrack is the game's soundtrack, even though you can download the soundtrack already from the game's extras itself. So to access the art book and soundtrack once you've bought it, the DLC, so let's actually read this whole thing. Buy the Enigmatis 3 Karkhala Artbook DLC. It's quite bold just saying buy the DLC, but okay. The DLC contains an 80-page digital art book in English, showcasing beautiful, hand-painted concept art from Enigmatis 3 with some never-before-seen pieces together with an in-depth description of the creative process behind the game's development. Dive into the breathtaking vistas of Karkhala and see the world from the eyes of artists and developers who brought to life Preacher, Hamilton, Fang, and other characters from the final chapter of the series. A must-have for all fans of Artifex Mundi games. And here's all 9 tracks of the game's soundtrack. Again, this is already available to download in the game's extras content itself. To access the digital art book, follow these instructions, and then it just tells you to basically look in the game files itself. So once you've bought the DLC and downloaded the DLC, this folder art book will show up. This is the art book, just read it in the PDF file as a PDF file. The soundtrack is, well, the soundtrack of the game. Yeah. This doesn't change anything about the main game itself. You just have to look in the game files itself to find the downloadable content. So let's actually look at the art book itself. The Art of Enigmatis, The Shadow of Karkhala. Copyright by Artifex Mundi, Katowice 2016. I'm reading this whole thing. Editorial design, Marta Vetter. All rights reserved. Copying or reproducing the whole book or any of its parts without the author's permission is forbidden. Digital release. ISBN 9738364805646. I believe this video does not constitute copying or reproducing the whole book. If it does, I will gladly take this video down if Artifex Mundi takes issue with it, because you know this I haven't seen like the art book itself anywhere else, so that either means that no one cared enough to buy the art book, or Artifex Mundi has actually taken action to not show the art book, which is fair. Again, if Artifex Mundi wants this video down, I'll take it down. Introduction, key visuals, characters, locations, the game credits. Here's the depiction of Raphael and Asmodi. Welcome to Enigmatis 3. Making the final part of the trilogy was quite challenging, since the first 2 chapters really raised the bar and we knew that the expectations would be very high. From the very beginning of the project, we knew the time had finally come to end the series. We had the fundamental idea of how it should end, but 2 important problems still remained: how to make this part both different to and consistent with the series, and what this particular story should really be about. To capture that difference and consistency, we decided to make the Shadow of Karkhala much more adventurous and dynamic. I can tell that from playing the game. The main theme of the story was much harder to complete. We wanted it to be about true sacrifice and devotion to a just cause. We wanted to show that the dedication of individuals, both mortal and divine, is the essence of good, and the only true way to defeat evil. I have a feeling this might be a lot of reading. Here are the artists around this portrait that worked on this piece in particular. Now I'm a private investigator. For the past few years, I've been hunting a serial murderer named the Preacher. Soon, my pursuit will come to an end. For better or worse, my investigation has unraveled a mystery spanning thousands of years. The forces I have encountered are not mere legends. They pose a real threat to everyone here and now. Since this case began, I have to stand against them more than once. I've been lucky enough to leave the competition through my life intact, but my biggest challenge is yet to come. Preacher. These documents were visible in the game itself. Inspirations and key visuals. One of the main ideas behind Enigmatis visuals is that each of its parts had a unique palette, mood, and theme. The ghosts of Maple Creek take us into teal and the orange autumnal night of the little town. The mists of Ravenhood invite us into the misty purple, green, and brown summer of Ravenwood Park. In the Shadow of Karkhala, they decided to take this one step further, not only taking the story in its own colors, but also moving it to the opposite side of the globe, to the picturesque and exotic Karkhala mountains. And the statue. Here's the concept art of the logo itself. Enigmatis 3, the Mist of Karakuram Peak. Enigmatis, the Tales of Karakuram Peak. Enigmatis, the Shadow of Karkhala. This would have been quite a mouthful to pronounce. The final art and the final logo. The concept art. This is the achievement screen and the main menu logo. This is a Maple Creek that we visit at the beginning of the game. This looks like the gas station and the bridge. I guess that location was moved. Here's the plane. Here's the village. Here's the beginning location of Karkhala. Here's a monastery. This one was also visible in the game's concept art in the extras content. This is unique, so there's no such thing of this in the game itself. So this seems to be scrapped. There's no statue of what looks like Raphael there. Here's this side of the cliffs. Looks like they would have been with the Northern Lights over there. Here's this side. Here's the Widow Flower. And this concept art was also seen in the game itself. But again, this view of Raphael is not seen. This was definitely removed. Looks like the inside of a different temple. Both of these look unused. This one looks like in the village, whereas this one looks like in the cavern. Another unused location. This looks like it's partially in the cavern and like in the village here. I'm not exactly sure where this would come into play. Probably by the monastery. Yeah, around the monastery, it seems like this would make the most sense for this to take place in. Since the Shadow of Karkhala continues the main plot of the Enigmatis series, it also shares most of its main characters. We decided to leave the characters as they are, with the exception of Hamilton, who we wanted to be a tougher old school detective and could focus on new ones to add some extra elements to the story. We divided the characters into 3 coherent groups: the Chosen Ones, the Defined Ones, and the Infernal Ones. Each of these groups were given several characteristic features to distinguish them from the others. Preacher. Richard Hamilton. He is tough, resourceful, and tenacious. The preacher killed his beloved Emily, so this isn't just another case for him. It's personal. It's always been personal for Richard. Here we got Richard again. This is the photo of the preacher at the gas station at the bonus game of the first game. That's a nice touch. And the house that he visited in the bonus game too. Sheng Feng. Okay, that's new. We didn't know her first name, only Fang, so this is her full name. A young resolute girl from the local village. She is moody and a little skeptical, but also kind and cheerful if you manage to earn her trust. Fang is the daughter of Po, which makes her the last of 9 of the Holy Flames. And here we have the monsters she drew. These are quite small, but there's definitely different costumes for her. Brittany Banks. The dirty archaeologist is the action and adventure type. She's brave, self-confident, and intelligent, which made her the perfect leader for the Karkhala expedition. Oof. Brittany and Fang. Sakrag. Again, we don't learn this beast's name, so this is unique. Made of the Archangel's feathers, this beast was summoned 1,000 years ago to guard Asmodi's tomb and kill any reaper that dared to approach. So that's what the statue is meant to represent. Another big bird in the Enigmatis series. Preacher and Asmodi. The evil preacher of Maple Creek, the most cunning, powerful, and ruthless of Asmodi's reapers. He is completely devoted to Asmodi's cause. He plans to free his demon master and become his living vessel. This is from the first game, and it's the same photo of him at the gas station. Quite the get-up the preacher has. I wonder what made them consider adding the purple belt to the preacher's original black preacher outfit. I know this was a thing in like the second Enigmatis game, but I wonder what was the decision to add this purple belt. It looks cool on him, just wondering. Yes, Asmodi. Saw that before. The beauty of locations. There were 4 things about the location we were sure of from the beginning. First, we wanted to begin the game with the most dynamic, epic, and thrilling plane crash the world of Hopa games, hand object, puzzle adventure games had ever seen. Second, we wanted it to follow with a sentimental journey to Maple Creek, place where the story all began. Third, we wanted the world around the player to change with the passage of time. The sun rising and setting, the weather changing, etc. Last but not least, we wanted to make sure that the weather and daytime matched the current mood of the story. I'd say they accomplished what they set out to do here. The monastery, Maple Creek. The Maple Creek retrospection was meant to serve 2 purposes. It allowed players to remember or to learn Enigmatis' main plot. Second, it was supposed to be a gift to our devoted fans, a kind of sentimental journey to the beginning of Enigmatis. Again, I think they did a good job with that. It made sense in the context of the game. I don't remember this map of the in the game. This is a newspaper we saw in the game. This is a shot of the Maple Creek. I suppose that after the preacher's crimes were discovered, that arsonists burned it down out of their reasonable hatred against the preacher. Someone did roll burn in hell preacher in the entrance around here, so guess they vandalized it out of hatred against him. And thank goodness for them, because we would not have discovered the secret hideout down there. This secret hideout. I like how like this fits like besides like the HD graphics, this looks like it will fit in like the first game itself, which is a nice touch. Plane crash. One is a strong and remarkable opening for the last part of the Enigmatis trilogy. The tricky part was making the crash as realistic as possible while keeping it casual at the same time. Casual is a very key term here. Here's the plane. Looks like parachutes might have been intended to be used here. Oh, a backpack. This shot I don't think gets used. Here's the plane crash and the statue. Working at the forest village. Working on this part of the game was probably the most interesting and rewarding experience of the whole development process. The richness and diversity of Karkhala culture are truly overwhelming. Karkhala, was the capital of the Mongol Empire. Okay, so that within the areas of former Mongolia, Mongolia still. That's a silly question. Yeah, of course Mongolia still. The Mongolian Empire isn't a thing, but the country Mongolia still exists. That's okay, and that's why the game mentioned Genghis Khan, of course. Here's the forest. Here's another forest where I'd struggle way too much on. More of the Karkhala wilds. I feel like I've seen this shot before in the art book. Here's the village with the two characters there. This is clearly very much intended to be viewed like a book and not one page at a time. I don't know how to do it on Firefox, so I'll just leave that be. Wait, actually I can't do this. Okay, like this, okay. Probably took too long for me to figure that out, but okay. Okay. The village and the back of the village with the lift. Inside the hermit's hut and outside. You want for consistency? For consistency, I'll just keep it at no spread. Okay, so the back of village, the hermit's hut, the outside, inside of Fang's house, or Fang, the basement, and the sawmill, mountain camp. This is probably the darkest, intensest part of the game. Alone in the dark, searching through an archaeological camp, the player is constantly aware that the enemy is nearby, but may attack at any moment. Yet there is no turning back. The stakes are far too high. Yeah. Here's just the bonus game version of the camp, though in front of the monastery. A different shot. I like that they made their own logo for the archaeological expedition. Ancient monastery. Although it was built in Karkhala over 3,000 years ago, it features elements not only from ancient China but also the Middle East. This whole structure serves only one sole purpose: keeping the gate to Asmodee's tomb closed at all costs. There's a monastery. Bonus game and main game. Here's the monastery gate and the portal. Here's the other shot of the monastery. Again, I feel like they've already shown this before. This looks like slightly a different touch on this, only without the sunset. And again, there's the temple that gets unused. Okay, here's the left side of this under the grate. Again, this is really well textured. There's a lot of detail here that you don't think, like, at least I don't think too much about when playing, but like when something I look back on, like I don't notice like that much detail when I play it, but when I look back, then I notice the detail. Like, it's impressive how much texture is put here. The temple, the deepest and most forgotten part of Karkhala Monastery. This is the cave where the ancient battle between Raphael and Asmodi took place. This is where it must all come to an end, one way or another. So the battle took place here. That's new information. Here's the temple, a different crystal, and without the characters down here. Here's the secret chapel. Here's the unused Archangel stuck in the crystal in the path. A closer zoom up. Here's a Pole's hideout. Here's the mosaic painting at the beginning of the game in the preacher's hideout in Maple Creek. And here are the credits. Enigmatis 3, The Shadow of Karkhala, a game by Artifex Mundi. I'll read it out loud. Producer, Raphael Reikowski. I'm gonna butcher all of these names, I'm so sorry. Game designer, Miko. No, you know what? I'm not. You know what? These are Polish names, and any name that is not close to English for me, so I'll just read the first names. Game designer, No. Additional game designers, Miko K10. You know what? No, I'm not. I feel like I'm butchering these names quite a bit. I'm not gonna read. I'm just perusing through them. This just show the artists, additional artists, narrative designers, level designers. This game is definitely divided into levels more, I feel. Additional level designer, Scrum Master. What does that mean? A Scrum Master, that not relevant. The Scrum framework, no. Scrum Master meaning. Project Manager, a facilitator of okay, I'm assuming this just means time manager or a project manager or something similar. Creative supervision, cinematic director, cinematic designer, animator, 3D environment designer and VFX, 2D environment designer, music composer, sound designer, voice actors, Christine Price Wilson as detective, Dave Pettit as Richard Hamilton, Christine Lennox as Brittany Banks aka BB, Nathan Hunt as Poe and additional voices. I'm not sure why they keep the additional voices instead of just naming the other characters, but okay. Bob Walter as the preacher, Tracy Buffalo as Johnny, and William Sage as Jim, and additional voices. Third party studios and artists, published by Artifex Mundi, the CEO, Vice President Publishing, Production, Creative, Business Development, CFO, Producer, the developers, PR and Marketing, the QA team, Technical Director, powered by Sport Casual Engine Technology, and special thanks to Thomas. Thanks to everyone who made this possible, and Artifex Mundi. So, $43 for that interesting look into. Honestly, I thought it was just gonna be the concept art. You get a bit more insight into the developer's thought process, which is nice. Like, I will admit, like, it's not like the most super in-depth description, like a step-by-step in-depth description of the development process, but it's nice to know that the developers, thought process of the main decisions of the game. You can definitely see that reflected in the game itself. And it's nice to know like some details that aren't revealed in the game itself. You kind of already see like a few of the concept art in the game's extra menu itself, and again, you've already seen the soundtrack in the game's extras menu itself. So Again, I don't know what the point of this is, the soundtrack is, but I appreciate the time that they went out of the way to do the art book as well. Just nice. I don't have anything else to add for this moment. It's a nice little touch they gave to. It's nice. It's a nice confirmation to know what I thought the developers intended for this game. Seems to be reflected based on how they write their thought process in this art book. So yeah, I'll call it here. Again, if Artifex Mundi takes issue with this, I will take it down. If not, then hope you've enjoyed the art book. It's an interesting read, an interesting look into, again, the game's thought process, and see some other interesting and unused art and some of the thought, again, the developer's thought process. So have a nice rest of your day, everyone. Bye bye.